Welcome to the second episode of Brass Unpacked. Today, we invite you on a journey to discover Other Lives, a captivating work by Swiss composer Oliver Waespi, written in 2020. As prolific and imaginative voice in brass band music, Waespi has made his mark with major works such as Audivi Media Nocte and Antiphonies. In Other Lives, Oliver Waespi weaves in subtle nods to Franz Schubert throughout the piece. Right from the opening bars, the harmonies echo Der Doppelgänger, one of the very last songs written by the Austrian composer. Part of the swan song cycle, this haunting work was composed at the very end of Schubert's life when he was gravely ill. It speaks of profound solitude and the unsettling experience of confronting one's own ghost. The successive calls of the trombones and cornets recall the solemn, monodic entrance of the singer in Der Doppelgänger. With Other Lives, Oliver Waespi sets out to reflect the different stages of a life, whether real or imagined, by exploring a vast spectrum of emotional states. The tone is set right from the opening movement, aptly titled Rage, an intense, restless music that gradually accelerates into a true agitato. Here, three striking elements intertwine: jagged, pounding rhythmic cells, almost migraine-inducing, a clear echo of Schubert's own suffering, dark, anxious motifs, and swirling runs of 16th notes, like melodies fighting to surface, to reclaim their place. The music shifts seamlessly between duple and triple time, creating a constant undercurrent of rhythmic tension. Even the timpani take on a melodic role, stepping into the deep, expressive voice of a baritone saxophone, an instrument, it's worth noting, that has no place in the brass band. The turmoil slowly engulfs the solo trombone, sweeping it into the storm, until a sudden baritone duet pulls it sharply back into the wake of the rage. At the climax of this first movement, the ensemble unleashes a raw cry of fury, a surge of unbridled rage that seizes the entire orchestra. It's a feverish battle between explosive, isolated rhythmic outbursts and a relentless frenzy of 16th notes. After a brief moment of calm, a broad theme emerges in canon between the cornets and trombones. This tense dialogue feels like an inner conflict, a haunting idea wrestling with itself, until, at last, a shared path begins to take shape. Layer upon layer of threatening themes return, intertwined with relentless rhythmic bursts, like a migraine of rage that cannot be stopped. All of it is driven forward by the percussionists at the mallets, echoing the swirling 16th note figures. The principal cornet then steps into the spotlight with a dazzling display of virtuosity, weaving together the rhythmic motifs, the menacing accents, and the swirling 16th note figures from the climax. Beneath it all, the euphonium takes on the role of a double bass, anchoring the music in rich depth and giving full weight to this electrifying moment. The movement draws to a close with an explosive return of the climax, surging into a powerful reprise of the opening statements. This time, they are pushed to their absolute extreme, triple fort in the altos and the second and third cornets. The second movement, titled Reflection, brings back the chords we first heard at the very beginning of the work. Here we sense the spirit of Schubert, a quiet figure, deeply romantic, and naturally drawn to introspection. This intimate quality is beautifully captured in a heartfelt euphonium solo. Lost in thoughts that words have rarely been able to capture, the composer seems still to wrestle with the cruelty of his fate. That tension quietly resurfaces in the background as the motifs from Rage return, this time voiced by the E-flat and the Repiano cornets. This journey into inner reflection closes with a baritone solo, steeped in a gentle yet piercing melancholy, a profoundly romantic signature of which Franz Schubert was one of the true pioneers. The third movement, titled Redemption, opens with a broad, radiant theme that gradually unfolds into a brilliant full ensemble tutti. Here we hear Oliver Waespi's trademark writing, expansive, lyrical, and deeply expressive, in the same vein as works like Legenda Romantia, which the composer himself regards as a cornerstone of his career. And Schubert is never far away. A subtle reference to Rückblick from Winterreise weaves its way into the musical fabric. It's a poignant gesture, rich with meaning, as Rückblick was written during one of Schubert's most fertile creative periods, shortly after Beethoven's death, perhaps a kind of personal redemption in the shadow of his departed idol. The fourth and final movement, Renewal, bursts to life like a great, high-spirited dance, carrying the unmistakable flavor of an Aaron Copland-style hoedown. It also recalls the light-hearted energy of the final movement of Waespi's Divertimento. There's a contagious joy in this music, the joy of playing together, of drawing others into the experience. It radiates the same collective energy found in the Schubertiades, those warm, friendly gatherings held in Schubert's honor, still very much alive today. Here, Oliver Waespi brings back techniques from the first movement, the layering of rhythmic motifs shared with the percussion, the swirling runs of 16th notes, but now set in a festive, glowing atmosphere. Much like in a grand Schubertiade, each soloist steps into the spotlight, taking up the orchestra's themes and transforming them into a true collective celebration. The trombone, once swept away by the rage of the first movement, is reborn here as the leader of the dance. The piece comes to a close in a true musical fireworks display. The menacing motifs resurface, and the spirited exchanges between the orchestra and the timpani, echoing the opening movement return with renewed intensity. The pulse quickens, surging past 152 beats per minute, flirting with a quasi-presto. And then another life begins to open, a life, as in Schubert's world, that one longs to share. A life where, despite every trial, joy at last triumphs over reflection, introspection, and rage.